Hi guys, it's Kristy here, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do a quick video on my story with chronic illness. I have Crohn's disease and it is an inflammatory bowel disease. It has affected me since I was 13 years old. I'll leave a bit more of a description of what exactly Crohn's is in terms of the medical terminology in the description bar, but basically it is a inflammatory bowel disease and it is where your immune system goes into overdrive. It's an autoimmune disorder where your immune system starts to attack your digestive system. It can cause ulcers, inflammation, bleeding, things like that, a lot of pain, weight loss, diarrhea, vomiting, mouth ulcers, but it also affects like other parts of the body, so it can affect your joints. I get rheumatoid arthritis from having the Crohn's. It can cause you skin problems. We get Erythema Nodosum. It can cause eye problems. I've had episcleritis. I think that's it in the past, and lots of different external issues. So it is a kind of all body thing, but different people have different experiences. Some people only have one part of the system that's affected, or they can have the wide range of symptoms where it affects like every single, they would get every single symptom that is out there. So I just thought I would take you through the story of from when I was diagnosed right up to where I am now. So I've had it for 16 years, I'm now 29, so I've had it for quite a long time. I've had it for more than half of my life. And I guess this is just to kind of let you know my story. It might help some people in terms of maybe they're starting a new medication and I've already tried it, and it might help them to, I don't know, be less fearful about starting that medication or less fearful about getting diagnosed with Crohn's, because it is a pretty daunting diagnosis to have. And my Crohn's is pretty severe, but I still manage to live a very fulfilled life. So I'll just get cracking on with the story. I was diagnosed pretty quickly actually, so I was started to get sick during the summer of whenever I was 13 years of age, and I was just about to go into year 9, so I was in school in England at the time. My family had moved from Northern Ireland to England, so basically I was going into my 3rd year of grammar school, and I started to have a sore stomach all the time. I started to lose weight, I was having diarrhea, and at that age I didn't really think it was anything serious. People get, symptoms like that all the time. I don't even know what I thought at the time because it was so long ago, but I probably just put it down to like eating something bad or having food poisoning, or I didn't really know. But I did go to my doctor and I was pretty much referred like straight away to a gastroenterologist. I probably had some kind of like bleeding as well, like blood in my stool, because they referred me really quickly. So I went to see a doctor, a gastroenterologist in England, and I was diagnosed within about like 3 months of getting symptoms. But my symptoms were pretty severe. They basically got worse and worse. So I started to get the arthritis in my lower body, my ankles and my toes, my knees, my hips. It then starts to move to my wrists and my fingers, and that would be like the main areas where I would get it. I'm trying to think if I get it in my knees, I can't remember. Then I started to get the Erythema Nodosum, which are these raised bumps on your skin. I started to get those on my arms and my legs. I'll try to find a photo of my Erythema Nodosum and insert it, but they're just like really sore, raised, almost like bruises. You start to get all like skin hacks on your mouth and things like that. So, and then I lost like tons and tons of weight. So initially I was put on to steroids, which seems to be like the first line of treatment. So I was put on to steroids. So I got through the steroids that had initially helped to make me better, and then they tried to find a maintenance therapy, an immunosuppressant therapy that would stop my immune system overreacting and attacking my digestive system. So they tried me on Azathioprine, which made me vomit all the time. That's literally just like my reaction to it. I think I have like an intolerance to it. And then they tried me on Methotrexate, which I managed to cope with pretty well, but it wasn't quite, you know, getting me where I needed to be. So we decided to try drinking nutritional drinks, and I think I was on Ensure at the time, and I was drinking those, but whatever it worked out, we ended up doing an NG tube just because I must have been coping with the drinks very well. Maybe I wasn't drinking enough, but they decided to go with NG tube. So I went into the hospital, had the NG tube put in, and then I went home with it after a few days. So I was on the NG tube for between 8 and 10 weeks, and then after that I was, as I was tube feeding, I was doing a pump, which was pumping the feed through the NG tube very slowly, and then I started to bolus feed. So that's where you put the drink into a syringe and let it kind of gravity pull the drink down the tube, and I was doing that then 8 times a day. So instead of using the pump constantly, I then went to bolus feeding 8 times a day, and then I started to then introduce actually drinking the drinks, and then I started to introduce food again. So this was about like 10 weeks later I started to introduce food again, and I did a whole elimination diet, and that was basically starting off on like the bare minimum, very non-agitating food that I could eat in the first instance. Then I would introduce wheat for 2 weeks and see if I had a reaction. Then I would introduce dairy, tomatoes, onions, things like that, and see what caused a reaction, and I had to keep like a diary. And everything I was pretty much okay with, but I really had a reaction to dairy. It was very instantly, straight away, you know, I knew, okay, dairy is a big problem. And I used to fight with my doctor a lot because he made me do this whole elimination diet, and it took so long. It took about 3 months to do the whole of the elimination diet if you were doing it properly, introducing one food at a time, waiting, and then introducing another food, waiting a week, you know. So it took a really long time. And then whenever I went to him and I said, look, dairy is causing a big issue, I would actually like to get food allergy testing, he absolutely refused. So I was like, what was the point in making me do this elimination diet if you weren't going to take it seriously? So anyway, I then completely cut out dairy out of my diet, which helped me a lot. The NG tube helped to get me to a good place, the NG tube feeding, and then I cut out dairy once I had introduced everything, all my food back. So I managed then after that point to get through my GCSEs. I got through my 4th and my 5th year in grammar school, and I managed to get through my GCSEs. I did pretty well. I did miss a bit of school from being sick, but I got through it all okay. But I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be, you know, things weren't 100%. I still knew, like, every day I had Crohn's. So at that point in time, my family were all moving back from England to Northern Ireland, so my doctor then kind of did a handover to my new doctor in Northern Ireland, basically talking about what medications I could go on next. And the English doctor decided that he wanted to put me on Infliximab or Remicade, and I had my first infusion of that in England, and then I followed that up the rest of the infusions in Northern Ireland, and it was literally like a life-changing medication. It transformed, like, I literally could forget that I had Crohn's. It was insane how much better I got on that medication, and I used to do 8 weekly infusions, and I used to take the Methotrexate alongside it because the Methotrexate helps to stop you building up antibodies to the Infliximab, because your body sees the Infliximab as a foreign substance in your body and will build up antibodies to it and stop it from working. So the Methotrexate lowers your immune system, stops you building up antibodies to the Infliximab. So I was on that for a really long time. I literally forgot that I had Crohn's. It was so amazing. I could pretty much eat whatever I wanted. I could eat dairy, yeah, pretty much anything. The only thing that caused me like real issues was like really spicy food, but like that would pretty much cause anyone issues. I even, you know, went out and partied with my mates all the time. I was, you know, 16, 17, 18, you know, and all I wanted to do was like go out and be with my friends and party, and I did underage drink, but I didn't go insane. And you preferably should not drink on methotrexate because it is really damaging on your liver. And I think you can actually get cirrhosis if you drink and take methotrexate, but at the time I was really young and I used to go out and party with my friends and eat whatever I wanted, and I have absolutely no damage from doing it, but I do not recommend anyone else does that. But my point is that I pretty much forgot that I had Crohn's. I didn't have any real problems, so it was an amazing drug. And then my doctor, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, but my doctor would not do this now. I've changed doctors since this point, but my doctor then was like, oh, you're doing so well on this drug, let's stop it. And I was like what, like why? So first of all, he stopped the methotrexate, which was an issue because it actually stops you building up antibodies to the Infliximab, so your likelihood of having a reaction to the Infliximab or it stopping working is higher, like with me having stopped the methotrexate. Then he decided to stop the Infliximab, and of course I got sick again. So then I went back on it, and I pretty much went downhill from there. I would get the infusion and I would feel pretty good afterwards, but then I wouldn't make it to my next infusion without feeling sick. So basically, you know, here's my infusion. I would start off up here, and then I would just go downhill until my next infusion, and then I would get my next infusion here. And so I wasn't maintaining a level of health in between the infusions. I pretty much was going like from here down to here between my infusions. And then because I was then starting from here, my next infusion then wouldn't get me back to 100%, it would say get me to 80%, and then I would go downhill from there, and then the next infusion would get me to 70% of health, you know. So it was just like a downward cycle. And we incorporated back in the methotrexate, etc, etc, but at that point it's too late because he'd already kind of messed things up. He had left me for a period of time without the methotrexate, and also stopped my Infliximab, which helped me to build up antibodies. If you stop a medication and start it, there is a risk that you'll build up antibodies, plus taking out the methotrexate didn't help either. I then became very, very sick. At this point I had completed university, so I was 21. So I was 21 by this point. So I started the Infliximab when I was 16. I'm now 21 by this point. I've gone downhill, and then by the time I really hit rock bottom with the Infliximab and it really wasn't working, I think I was about 23. So then I was like, well, what are my options? I used to go and do a lot of my own research, and I would come to him with different options, and I said, well, what about Humira, adalimumab? It's a kind of sister drug of Infliximab, but Infliximab is made with a lot of mouse proteins, so your body is more likely to see it as a foreign substance. So Humira is made with a lot more human protein or whatever. So you're less likely to build up antibodies to it. It can often work where someone's lost the effectiveness from the Infliximab, but he didn't agree with that logic. So basically I went and got a second opinion. I went to London and I went to see a guy recommended to me by a family member who is a doctor. So he recommended this guy in London, and he said, no, Humira is definitely the way forward, definitely start it. And he actually wrote a letter to my doctor here, and I ended up starting that. But at this point my bowel was like so damaged, I had loads of scar tissue in there. So I was put forward for a right hemicolectomy. It was an extended right hemicolectomy, and I'll just kind of show you exactly kind of what it involved. So basically your small bowel goes into your large bowel here, but they took out this whole bit of bowel right the way across to here. So they took out all that large bowel here, and they pulled my small bowel up and around and connected it to my large bowel here, which leaves me with this bit that goes down to here. So this is my scar from here to here. and I have 3 little incisions down the side because they started to do the surgery laparoscopically, so they put cameras in through the little incisions and try to do it all without opening you up too much and it being an open surgery. But apparently my bowel was so damaged that they ended up having to open my scar up more in order to like get everything out. So my scar ended up being a lot bigger than they had expected. So I had the right hemicolectomy and it took out all the scar tissue that was there. My bowel was basically like closed over as if it was a rubber hose with no hose in the middle, so nothing could get through. So that's why, you know, whenever I was sick before the surgery, I was vomiting all the time because nothing could get down, so everything had to come back up. So my surgery solved all those problems, but I did have a very difficult surgery process. I'm kind of like really summarising everything, but the Humira kind of worked then after that, but it was never as great as the Infliximab. So I basically sort of carried on for another while, added in different things, like I added in antibiotics because I was getting small bowel bacterial overgrowth. That also helps to treat the Crohn's as well. I then decided to switch from Methotrexate to Azathioprine again because the Methotrexate sort of like wasn't really doing anything other than acting as a immunosuppressant to help me not build up antibodies to my main drug, which were Infliximab, Humira. But now that the Humira wasn't really working, they actually wanted, and it was kind of working-ish, but it just wasn't doing as good a job as the Infliximab. They wanted to add in something that would actually work in itself as well. So they tried me on the Azathioprine again, but what they did was they put me on a really low dose and they added in Allopurinol, which increases the effectiveness of the drug in your blood system without you having to take high quantities of the actual drug. So I was put on a low dose of Azathioprine teamed with Allopurinol, which means I get the same effectiveness of taking a large dose without all the side effects, so I can take it without having the vomiting that I was having. So because the Humira wasn't overly working, we decided to add in NG tube feeding. I'd previously tried adding in nutritional drinks, but they just weren't working. I was finding them difficult to drink, and they were making me run to the toilet all the time. So me and my doctor decided to do NG tube feeding via a pump, which delivers the liquid to my stomach a lot more slowly, which allows my bowel to actually absorb the nutrition. So we added that in about a year and a half ago, and that was getting me by, but it wasn't, you know, it was a crutch that I didn't want to have. So we then added in Ustekinumab, which is called Stelara, and I seem to be doing okay on that so far. It seems to have had a positive effect, but the longer you're on it, apparently the better you do. So we're keen to keep trying it out. I'm definitely not 100%. So that's kind of about where we're at now. We might increase the Ustekinumab frequency, so from every 8 weeks to maybe every 6 weeks, but that's kind of the story so far. I'm 29 and I'm kind of moving in the right direction, so that's good enough for me. This story is kind of, you know, I don't even know like what the story is meant to achieve, but it's kind of just to put the information out there to let people know that you know, if they're NG tube feeding, they're not alone. You know, if you're maybe starting a new drug and you're scared about it, maybe you're starting Infliximab, you know, you'll not be so scared because it had an amazing effect for me. Or maybe you're starting, you know, one of the other drugs that I've tried. And just, yeah, to let you know that I've had it for 16 years and, you know, I've still managed to have a very fulfilled life. I've completed school, I've completed university, I work, you know, I had a really good job and I'm about to start a really, a new job, which is for a really good company. And, you know, we can still kind of battle through it, and I think the important thing is to do your own research. Always look for a second opinion if you're not happy. Don't just let your doctor tell you something and think that you have to just, you know, stick to it. I've changed doctors specifically because I was happy with my doctors, so I switched doctors right after I had my surgery, my abdominal surgery. I switched doctors just because I was so unhappy with the service I've been given, and yeah, just you're your biggest advocate, so just keep pushing for what you want, what you know is right, and hopefully you'll get the right outcome. I hope you found this video helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!